in our business meeting where it will be time for public input. I have received forms from 5 individuals who would like to address the board. If there's anyone else who would like to address the board, we have forms over here to your left. If you would get one of those forms, fill it out, take it over to Bonnie. She will then log in the pertinent information and give me a copy so we can have you address the board. You will each receive 3 minutes to address the board with your comments and concerns. I would first invite Jessica Tyre to come up and address the board. If you would please just state your name.
Yeah, of course. My name is Jessie Tyre. I'm a Provo High School teacher. I've taught at Provo High for 6 years, and I've been involved with the Gay Straight Alliance Club for 5 of those years. I'm the head advisor this year, and that's the main reason I'm here today. I wrote out my notes because I knew I'd get nervous, even though I stand in front of people all day. I wanted to come to be a voice for the LGBTQ students and in our district. These students have shared their intense struggles, with me, and I take my role as their advocate extremely seriously. For many of you, these students are vague and maybe nondescript, but for me, they're not just an LGBTQ student in our district. They're an individual. They have their own sense of humor, their own interests, their own dreams for their future. Similar to me, a large part of your job is to speak for those who don't have a voice in our district. And our LGBTQ students epitomize the students without a voice. These students don't feel safe to speak for themselves because many of them are at risk for ostracization, humiliation, and often self-harm, potentially leading to suicide. The gender inclusion policy discussed earlier this evening that I was here for is a huge, massive step in the right direction for our district. It'll take a step towards a longer and much needed discussion in our district about how to support the social and emotional well-being of our diverse and at-risk students. It is imperative for LGBTQ students to feel safe at school, safe to express themselves, safe to use the bathroom where they feel the most comfortable, safe from not having their dead name plastered on the board when there's a new seating chart in class, and safe from, most of all, bullying and humiliation. This policy will allow for future dialogue to occur amongst the leaders who create that safe environment within our district. I encourage you strongly to consider the message that passing this policy sends to our at-risk students and to our community at large. This policy has the potential to offer meaningful support, and as much as it may sound like an overstatement, this policy truly has the potential to save lives. I know these kids. I've taught them for years, and they're watching you. We have discussions about this at GSA, and they're keeping tabs on this. So I just wanted to come and represent them. I appreciate you guys so much, and for everyone in our district who's worked for this policy. And those kids are the reason I'm here today. So I just wanted to include their passion and my passion for them at today's meeting. So thank you.
Jessie, thank you for taking the time to be with us and share your feelings this evening. We would now like to hear from Kimberly House.
My name is Kimberly House. I am a parent in the Provo School District. I'm also the parent of a transgender child who will be directly affected by your approval of Policy 3300 tonight. I also have the privilege of being the chairperson this year for the Provo City School District LGBTQ Equity and Diversity Committee. That committee only came into existence last year. My child came out as transgender last year. I have learned a lot since then. Education is the key. We need to educate our teachers. All of you should have received a letter that I sent you today with, now we have over 180 signatures on it, and that's within 3 to 4 days. This needs to happen. Comments I get when I bring it up are, I didn't even realize this was a thing. When I asked for my child to use preferred names at school, I was told no, because we're comfortable with how things are. So as I pushed forward, my child was the first one to be allowed to use a preferred name at school, starting the beginning of this calendar year, 2020. Probably the only thing good that happened this year. it makes a difference. And to not see these children, these kids, I've had to hospitalize my child twice. They are at high risk. We are losing them, and they need to be seen. And this policy needs to be passed so that procedures can be put into place to protect our kids. And until this policy is passed, you tie the hands of our superintendent to put these policies and these procedures in place. So on behalf of all the people who have signed this letter and myself and many more, all the LGBTQ employees and students and people in this community, I encourage you to approve this policy tonight because it is long overdue. Thank you.
Kimberly, thank you for taking the time to share with us this important concern for a group of students that often fly under the radar. We will move into the business portion of our meeting now. The first item we have up for approval on our agenda is Policy 3300. And Doug, is there anything additional you would like to maybe take just a minute or so and give us a brief recap? And we had a good discussion in study session, so.
Yeah, thank you, and I again appreciate that the great candor and the sincerity that the board has approached this policy, and I appreciate the community and student and family advocates who have spoken this evening too with great passion about the need. I think a key would answer perhaps the question as to what is the difference between having a policy and not. To have heard some of them express specifically how having a policy will impact their feeling of being seen and heard and valued within our school, and know that those protections are in place for a very vulnerable population. So again, with great sincerity and appreciation for those that have guided us in developing this policy, I present it to the board tonight for their approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion by the board to approve?
I recommend we approve new policy 3300, gender inclusive schools.
A motion by board member Jensen. Is there a second?
I second that.
Second by board member Partridge. Is there any additional discussion by the board on the motion to approve policy 3300?
I just want to reiterate some of what we already said in study session for those who weren't here to hear that. But I feel it's an important policy. I'm glad that we are doing this. All of our students need to feel seen and known, and everyone needs to be treated with respect and dignity, and I'm glad we're putting in a policy.
If there is no further discussion, all in favor of approving policy 3300, please indicate with aye. Aye. Julie? Julie is aye. The motion passes unanimously.